que follar.
Eso es, tienes que follar.
Creo que tenemos que ser sinceros el uno con el otro.
No estoy segura. ¿El qué es mentira?
Todo lo que he contado.
Ella se quedó embarazada, pero era de otro.
Parece mi perro. Está todo el día alrededor mío, no para de mirarme.
Laura.
And to celebrate it very much, we've had 16 big awards received by participative films, the Goyas for the best film and best director of El Buen Patrón, The Good Boss, the Gold Bear, Alcaraz by Carlos Simón, and 5 Lobitos, La Literatura, and Guirnalda, Gold Guirnalda in Malaga, the cinema directed by women, protagonists in this home, and that is in RTVE Española with the latest Celia Rico, La Buena al Retro, Arantxa Echevarría, Chinas, Carlota Pereda, La Ermita, and many others up until To El Agua by Elena López Arriaga, which is present in the PÉREZ section of the San Sebastián Film Festival in this edition. A special support also of RTVE Española to the directors, novel directors with their first and second films, and reinforced by with the talent, the rewriting, Jaula Milejos, Dismounting an Elephant. Well, many films. Thanks to Radio Televisión Española, the second part of Campeones. All of these are some of the most high films that we can highlight in our film in Radio Televisión Española, and we're here today because we're presenting another one of the great, commitments of Radio Televisión Española in San Sebastián Film Festival. I'm sure that all of you have got some story to not tell. Here we're presenting Historias para no contar, stories to not tell, by CESC.
Creo que se lo tendríamos que decir.
Pues yo no veo por qué.
Es que es difícil entender.
Fácil no es.
No sé por qué se ha enfadado.
Bueno, ya sabes cómo es.
La he invitado a comer para que se venga a vivir conmigo.
No, si la cuestión es complicarse un poquito la vida, ¿no?
Tienes que follar.
Eso es, tienes que follar.
Creo que tenemos que ser sinceros el uno con el otro.
No estoy segura. ¿El qué es mentira?
Todo lo que he contado.
Ella se quedó embarazada, pero era de otro.
Parece mi perro. Está todo el día alrededor mío, no para de mirarme.
Laura.
¿Qué?
¿Con quién hablas?
¡Nada, voy!
¿Por qué nos mintió? Todas lo hacemos, ¿no? Porque estoy muy enfadada. Mucho.
Te descubrió.
Seguro que esto es de lo más raro que te ha pasado en la vida, ¿no?
Entonces me besó.
¿Qué beso?
¿Qué estás insinuando, Carlos?
¡Fiona!
Además, como que no ha pasado nada y ya está.
No tengo ningún interés en ver a mis amigas masturbándose disfrazadas de enfermeras. No sé, ¿tú sí?
No, tampoco.
Bueno, pues ahí tenéis un adelanto.
Well, there you go. This is an advance of what you will see this evening. And who better to introduce this film than Elena Sánchez, who has brought all the way to here, to the heart of San Sebastián, is the history of our cinema. Elena, whenever you want. Hi. Well, good afternoon to everyone. We know that the agenda is, these few days, is very full, so thank you very much for being here with us. And we were very excited to present the CESC's latest work, and we're talking with Sense. 2 years ago, we presented Sentimental, and also in the Radio Televisión Española Gala. You've just seen it. One feels like seeing more when you see the trailer, and also that cast, big cast that it has. To present it is Gay. Gay is here. How are you? Well, hi, good afternoon. Ana Castillo, welcome, Ana. Thank you. Anna's been here. She's presented 3 works. Sorry for being here. Mo, thank you very much. Don't ask for forgiveness. Javier García. Another CHINO DARÍN. Hi. How are you? Verónica ECHEGUI. Hi. Good afternoon, everyone. In the film, which has been premiered in the Toronto Film Festival and will be in film theatres on the 5th of November. First of all, what was the premiere in Toronto? Is it important that Spanish cinema goes beyond its borders and to be in the big important international film festival? Plus, it's a place where you can test things. That is, albeit when you make comedy, you're afraid of seeing how it's going to connect. Sometimes it's easier to know this in your country. But it was very interesting to perceive the feeling in Toronto. It's a festival which is very friendly and a lot of fun. And it's a great place to premiere films. You come to San Sebastián and you present a film in which you come back to that type of episodes, films, short stories. You like short stories in this case. There are 5 different stories with characters that don't connect between each other. These are stories that start and finish, and you did so in Hotel Room, in your opera prima, and in Una pistola en cada mano. Why did you feel like going back to this format? Well, talking to colleagues this morning, I said, well, the truth is when I 15 or 17, I wanted to be a musician and I wanted to have a band. And I remember when we bought records, you didn't do this, but you went to buy a record and the records had songs. And there was something about the small format, the fragment, which I liked. So when I made films, I thought it was very tough to talk, tell a story over 2 hours. No, I just wanted to make songs, not a long record. So therefore, going back to this type of format, cinema is reconnecting to my thing of trying to tell short stories. And nowadays, especially with all the different platforms and the new way of consuming fiction, what is short is also quite good. We're used to, at home, a lot of episodes or seeing this on the mobile or on iPad, for example. It seems that both things come together. One of those quote-unquote songs has the voice of Ana Castilla. The other day you were in Televisión Española set and I asked you about this film. I hadn't seen it yet. Let's present it to those people that are listening to us. Those stories to not tell, historias para no contar, makes us feel very shameful because situation we're all found each other. How ridiculous is this seen from the outside? We're always trying to hide something. Those little white lies, yes, situations. As you say, you feel empathy because sometimes you felt you've been there, but when you see it from outside as a spectator, you enjoy that miscomfort because you're seeing it from the barrier from the outside. But these are situations because of fear or whatever, for blame or whatever. But to do whatever you can or bad emotional management, you feel embarrassed, ridiculous, and almost shameful. How pathetic, Javier, can we be, we human beings, at certain moments? This film shows us exactly that, doesn't it? Yes, absolutely. And the worst thing is that normally when someone is in a maximum pathetic mode, probably they don't even realize that they're in that mode. Yes, well, at the end, that's what they are, day-to-day situations that you lose control of, and they're the daily situations which there's nothing exceptional to stop them on time, and all of a sudden one hopes they'll stop on their own because one doesn't dare to stop them, or you hope someone in front of you will stop them, and it turns into a snowball situation. So therefore, and I think they've been told brilliantly, this is a comedy. Writing a comedy is not easy. I think that portraying it either, and even more so when it's written as CESC writes, it doesn't invite the big laugh, but it's a fine irony that CHINO, I think, to portray the tone that you have to manage is not easy, is it? Comedy, I've always been respectful for, and I'm a fanatic of seeing comedy and laughing in the film theater, in the cinema, and doing it with CESC. I thought it was a good way to get involved in this, especially with these colleagues on this journey. Verónica, what was the experience for you? In your case, of course, it's a very ensemble piece, and there are many of the greats of Spanish cinema, but your sequence is with King Gutierrez in that supermarket, talking about things which are quite transcendental. The space isn't a supermarket, but that's where it happens, yes, but usually that's the case. The biggest conversations aren't held where they should be. And with Kim, I'd worked 3 times with him, so therefore, not having that experience as a partner, I felt familiar with him, working with him. So therefore, as we worked for a short period of time, and it's a short story, directly it was, well, like being at home. And then CESC is a lot of fun, directing. He likes to... I had a proposal, but I stopped making a proposal to him. No, because he changed. He said, what I like about working with CESC was let myself go into whatever he says. How he changes one take to another. He might change the proposal, and then see what he did with the edit. I like that idea. and I felt very free. I felt as if I was playing. And I thought I'm very happy to participate in this, all these absurd stories that make you feel very ashamed. And now that you've opened up the floor, what's CESC like directing? CHINO, you had the reference of your father who had worked twice with him, two or more, two. Truman and La Pistola. Well, what was it like? Because you're friends, and I imagine you felt like working with him. Well, the truth is, we were able to share some situations with CESC, but the fact that my father, who's collaborated with him, who's a very good friend of CESC, after having worked twice with him, well, it was a good guideline, really, to be able to give myself into this journey. And the truth is, I had a great time shooting the film, and part of the discovery of doing it has to do with what Veronica has just said. It seems like an exploration at times to try to find things that even in CESC itself, and that's very nourishing. And without making a spoiler, here we've got three of the protagonists of the first story of Historias para no contar, which is Ana, Javier, and Chino. What was it like shooting your story? Would you like to share with us? Javier, it's the first time you worked together, is that correct? Yes, it's the first time. Well, quite intense, because as it's short in time, above all, where I appear, I'm in a flat, and we're all stuck in the flat, but very intensive. But like Chino says, and Vero, it's just like a lot of fun and play and a lot of proposal, and everything could be used to play with it, and nothing was disregarded. And CESC is quite clear where he wants to go, but he lets you play very much, and at the end of the day, you're very free on the set when you start until you finish. And I think at the end of the day, this contributes a lot of richness and freshness. CESC is very good. He's a nice guy, and that's what you expected. Yes, I'm very patient. I've got a lot of patience. Yes, it's true, CESC, up until now, you dedicated yourself more to portraying or making a portrait of the clumsiness of men when relating them. They didn't know how to handle their emotions, and this time you dare to also to talk about what happens to us women, how we handle lies, doubts, and those situations, right? Yes, it's much easier. It's always been easier to write thinking about male characters. But I felt like doing it, and that was the excuse. And also, with the ages, for example, Pistola en Cada Mano was a film focused on people who were about 40-odd years of age at that time, 40 and very few. But here we were Canondiera, José Coronado, and Anna's the youngest. And there's a range of ages which I thought was very interesting to write about. And with humor, above all, which is the most difficult, it is true that humor written for women demands something different from me. It's a process which is a bit slower, truthfully. We say different. Well, I said, you've got to search for, I've got to try to think and look at the things that I see of the women that I know, than looking into myself. When you write, normally, just like a woman writes thinking about a woman, quite possibly within her, it'd be much easier to find ways to do so. And here it obliged me to spy and look at people who are around me. In Spanish film, where lately I was seeing things are going back to the rural, but you stay in the city, you're an urbanite. You like to portray a certain middle bourgeoisie class, in this case, in Barcelona, that you know very well, and also the way of relating to the city, emotionally speaking, when expressing things is different to the way this would happen in a small town. And it is true, because I come from a small town, it's very different. Yes, I think I've always done a bourgeois type of film, and it's always appearance, there's always showing off. French cinema is very bourgeois. For example, what we hide, what we shoot, don't think with what I've said, why did you say this or why didn't you say that? These things that happen, it happens in our profession. Did they not interpret that well or not? Or are they wrong? And it's like the middle class, be it higher or lower, or upper or lower caste, we work like that. It's difficult to work to show sincerity, especially sentimental and emotional side of things. And this brings about very interesting issues, because behind there's a lot of complication inside of it. That's what I try to gaze upon. Now I'm going to talk about home because I think we've got reasons to this. I look at this panel and I see many people who have got a lot to do with Televisión Española. Ana, we consider you one of ours. Estoy Vivo, El Olivo, the olive tree, which launches you with the participation of Televisión Española. We're here again in another year. The importance also of the support of Televisión Española to the fiction products that you participate in. And then I'll tell you about all that journey we've taken together. Ana, yes, and also, I'm not too sure whether it's my impression, but you can see first feature films, which is what I've worked upon many times, and that's very thankful. I think Televisión Española has always support from a perspective of respect and to give margin to create for the people who are just starting out as directors. And we should be grateful for this. And I feel one of your belonging to Televisión Española, one of the team. Verónica and Javier, have you got a project in Televisión Española? I don't know, for next year. You're screening a series? Yes, I think so. We don't know exactly when, but The Patience of Dr. Garcia is the novel by Almudena Grandes. It has been a real gift for us. And I'm talking on your behalf as well. You let me? No, but it's been beautiful. It's been an experience. Marvelous experience. I would have kept shooting for another year. I would have done 3 seasons non-stop, but it's not possible. And the truth is that Televisión Española was supporting the entire process quite a lot. And it was very exciting when his partner came to see us. And I don't know, I think it was one of the most beautiful experiences and more important experiences that I've lived through. Also quite complex because time goes by. I had never done any period piece. I don't know whether you had before. Yes, but in another place. But I agree with what you've said. It's been a shoot which was quite special. And I think we're all looking forward to see it being so that people can see it, so that we can see it as well. I don't want to lose track of why we're here tonight. At 10:30 in Victoria Eugenia Theatre, we've got the Radio Televisión Española Gala with the featuring of Historias para no contar. And this is not the first time that we meet each other here, but to talk about the freedom that you think that Radio Televisión Española gives you to do whatever you want. There are several collaborations that you've done, and the films that has the collaboration of Radio Televisión Española, all of them. It's apart from the first one, which I did it with 2 friends in New York. But the truth is, yes, and a little along the lines of what Ana said, my relation with Televisión Española is being great. I've been grateful for it. The fact that I believe, but that's what I felt, that they understood to give the freedom and to confide in us, put their trust in us, so that you can construct new voices. And with visions which are too interventionist, I've never had this. I've been given a freedom from Televisión Española that has enabled me to continue to grow. And I can say this, and I can think many directors in this country could say so, because there are other ways of backing and supporting films, but with excessive control in some cases, they don't end up being anything at all. And I think that the great variety of directors that have, at least in my age group, who are 50 years old, and I think that's what we thank the most. The actors in the film have talked about what it's like to work with you. Have you managed to achieve a very complete cast? You saw on the trailer many of the names that are in this film. I was thinking, for example, 60 Years at Atraco a las Tres, which is a great cast. We're in the 21st century, but the way of having all of the actors, you wanted to make these types of stories that you can shoot them the way. What was it like to shoot with all of them? Well, it's been very complicated because all of them are very complicated. Yeah, they look like it. And we were laughing about this. No, well, what can I say? I feel very fortunate. I've always been very fortunate because at the end of the day, the actors, just like they read a script, and if they're interested, they come along, and if not, they don't. Beyond the films that you may have made, or I've always felt that, and in their case, we didn't know each other, only CHINO, but never worked together. So, but when the actors have appeared and we help each other mutually. I wouldn't make the films I make without them, and vice versa. And I've been very fortunate, especially because they found a a gap in their agendas to come for very few days, really. No. Well, it was all a bit crazy because... And I want to clear up as well that Javi Cámara, I didn't want him in this film because he's a pain in the neck. Let me clear this up because everyone asks me, no. And so what happened was, and we can tell the story, that Pepo Nieto, who was going to do that character, that Sunday, on the Monday, we were going to shoot, and he caught COVID. And therefore we were called, and Pepon wasn't ready. And when they called me up, I've got Javi next to me in the award-winning gala. I said, Javi, you've got some work tomorrow because Pepon can't come along. What a marvelous couple. He got undignified because being a replacement or a substitute, but he had the detail, well, the nice gesture of come along, but Pepon could come along because he had COVID. That's the reason why Javier is also in the cast. Is there anything that I'm missing that you would like to talk about, or would you like to share? I would like to say that part of the climate and the working, we nourish, and the circuit ends up being very small, and these experiences are transmitted between colleagues or conveyed between colleagues, and I value the fact of being able to work in this context where not only CESC is very warm with actors and contributes a lot of value to our work, but also the people of Imposible, for example, set up a framework of very pleasant work which enables us to be there, felt well taken care of, and to give it our all. Thank you very much, CHINO, for your strong words. Not always is such the case, that's what I'm saying. I don't want to go further in depth and the stories of what they deal with. We've given some brushstrokes. Now, Maria, if you think, you can continue. Well, I'm not too sure whether you have any questions to ask them, taking the advantage that we've got the director and many of the protagonists. Any questions?
No.
No? Perhaps we talk too much. Well, if you have no questions, let's go over, albeit Elena has the film in Radio Televisión Española with a video that we've prepared, as you can see, a diversity of genre and a subject matter with the same objective, good stories, and invite the audience to enjoy them, always on Radio Televisión Española.
Creemos en el cine.
We believe in cinema, we believe in our stories, we believe in our characters. We believe in all of those people that you don't see because they're out of the camera, they're behind the camera, making our films. And that film that says, because we create films for you. And we're going to continue to look at films and cinema with pride. We'll continue to create the cinema and films you want. RTVE, the one you want. Well, okay, I'm going to give the floor, before we finish, to the President of Radio Televisión Española, José Manuel Pérez Tornero. Well, President, this is like a film scene. Well, thank you very much, by the way. Well, films are alive, and it's pathetic, just as they said, just like our daily life, and it's impossible because it's impossible to sell a film which are stories to not tell, and to tell those stories. The stories that aren't told don't exist. And I want to defend, there are two ways of telling stories. The first of these is like the platforms. Excuse me, there's no one here, is there, from the platform? Big data behind it. Joseph Campbell, the path of the hero, the big circles, the big stories repeated. The things that we've already been done several times, built through big data, artificial intelligence. Well, this is natural intelligence. I was moved when you were talking about Almudena, was that we have to defend it now, and García Mortero as well, and Luis, that we'd been colleagues in Granada, if you recall, because I think that what we've got to defend is art, and art has to be freedom, and art has to have the generosity of doing 5 shorts, making a film out of 5 shorts. Because of each short, you probably would have been able to make a film, but if we have to reflect what life is and diversity and a clashing, and that's art, and art can only be made with the generosity that the public powers and public services can provide to the talent of the family, as DARÍN said, of the family that it creates together. So therefore, I would like to explain very briefly to Notorio, what's the role that I think Radio Televisión Española has to do. First of all, defend art, which we call it opera prima, or diversity, what's freedom, and do it supporting and developing that same creative development with all the power possible. Because when we tell stories, we modify lives, we change lives, and one distances one from oneself, and that's the best learning process that we can have. And secondly, I think that it's, El Imposible have got to obviously make money, and that's why the public powers and Televisión Española have got to be generous. We don't compete with anyone. We compete with the silence of the big standardizations of making stories, with the industrialization of stories. But we have to do it with the force that the figures turn out in our favor. And thirdly, and the third energy that we need, that was to connect with people. Connect with the film theaters, connect with even with the popcorn, which are also funny, but that will take us out of the individual bubble of the mobile phone that we're getting too used to see a lot of screens and to talk very little with people. In this film that I'm going to enjoy watching it this evening, I saw the joy of looking at each other's face and say, well, we're between ashamed and pathetic, and we have complexes. Well, we're a live genre that can reinvent itself on each occasion and can conquer the future. Thank you very much for all the kindness you put into everything you do. I hope that from Radio Televisión Española we can continue to provide that kindness again, and we need it, and we'll find the kindness of everyone in the audience. Thank you very much. The truth be said. Now, okay, there he goes. He's walking down. Now, President, thank you very much for having accompanied us in Radio Televisión Española, Elena, where the cinema you want, and RTVE. Thank you very much.